Guys. Hopefully you support this podcast by leaving a like, comment, and make sure to subscribe. Most importantly of all, share this video around, favorite, add to your watch later or favorite list on playlist for all my videos or whatever. Go check out my other videos, my playlists of other sort of reviews I've done, and sort of impromptu just self promotion of myself there, I guess. But it's very important for you guys to get involved in all of this. And that was sort of my London human bit of this. And now I'm going to go over to movies section. And let's talk about the top 10 international box office draws of 2014. Let's see. They're the actors that were the biggest draws. The likes of Jamie Foxx, who was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Rio 2, Horrible Bosses 2, Annie... Samuel L. Jackson, he was in RoboCop, as Nick Fury in Captain America: Winter Soldier, which is actually, I've heard, is a great movie. I haven't seen it. I might go and see that. Michael Fassbender, he was in 12 Years a Slave. He was in X-Men Days of Future Past as a Magneto. Martin Freeman was placed as the Hobbit in the Battle of Five Armies, which is... I'll talk about that in a minute, what I think of that movie. He was also in the Fargo TV show. And Gary Oldman was in RoboCop and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So there's a lot of people who've been in a few different movies. And he's also in Paranoia. Scarlett Johansson. Number 5. Luke Evans. Mark Wahlberg. Jennifer Lawrence. And Ian McKellen. That's surprising. Well, I guess he was in The Hobbit and X-Men. And I don't know what else he was in that year, but I guess they're two of the biggest box office draws of that year in terms of just movies. So it was quite a good year of movies. A lot of the movies that maybe let me down. A lot of sequels this year, probably a lot more sequels this year as well. It was a good year for superhero type movies. And of course, the third installment in the Hunger Games series came out. I didn't actually see that, but I heard it's alright. I mean, it was just a lead up to the next movie, Mockingjay Part 2. So I probably won't see it in cinemas. I might see it once it comes out on like Netflix or something of that. I'm surprised there is a lot of movies you wouldn't expect to make that much, but actually the biggest draw card of the year. Top 10 movies up to December 21st of 2014. At number 1, can you guess what it is? Being the biggest box office draw of the year. I guess this is according to Ireland, but anyway, or whatever. It is Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie, with 3,810,045. And number 2 is the Lego Movie. Number 3, The Gone Girl. Number 4, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. The Wolf of Wall Street. Number 5, no real surprise there. Number 6 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Good one. I've seen that one. It's Mockingjay Part 1. Number 7, no real surprise, 22 Jump Street. Haven't seen it. Number 9, The Infamous 2. And number 10, X-Men Days of Future Past. Surprised The Hobbit didn't make it to that list, but I guess it was still ongoing at the time of this sort of look at. So I'm going to go into my Hobbit review right now. So let's talk about The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies. Basically the defining chapter in the Hobbit whole series. I watched the other two movies in cinema as well, and I watched this in IMAX in London. I didn't actually mention that earlier on, but yeah, I watched this one in London, and it was the sound was amazing. The whole picture quality that zoomed around your face, you'd see every inch of the screen was just completely like quality. Like it was such good. It was great graphics. It was swift. It was there was no like bugs or anything on the screen. It all moved nice and well, and it looks great. So it's definitely made for the IMAX. The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies. It was released in 2014. I watched it in 2015. Just like January. So it was released on the 11th or 12th of December 2014, and Unexpected Journey being the first one, back in 2012, and Unexpected Journey. I watched that in cinema. I also watched Desolation of Smog the next year, 2013, in cinema. And now, 2015, I watched The Battle of Five Armies. Basically end to this epic fantasy adventure film. If you haven't already seen any of these films or haven't heard of this Hobbit, which I guess if you're living under a rock maybe, it was directed by Peter Jackson and written by Jackson, Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens and Guillermo del Toro. The final in the 3-part film adaptation. I think I might even do a separate review in this. No, I probably won't do a separate review in this. I just don't need to do focus on movies that much on this channel. It's more about TV shows. I'm sure you've kind of realised that by now. But The Hobbit's Battle of Five Armies, I watched this, I sort of mulled over it in my head. Did I think it was great? Did I think it was bad? Did I think it was alright? Mixed? Average? I mean, I've heard a few people thinking that this was not as good as the first one. Or maybe not even as good as the second one. Obviously, it's been a while since I've seen it, Unexpected Journey and The Desolation of Smog. I haven't seen that in a bit. So I watched this and it was a shorter running time, but I still got a little bit bored towards the second act of three. If it was divided into 3 acts, the first act was quite engrossing. The second act was just not much happening, but I guess there was just this darker sort of building in the background. The third act, we get to see everything happen, and the ending. And the ending was one of the highlights of the film for me. So it begins off with our usual Hobbit beginning, continuing from the last movie. I think we go over to 2 different sort of areas, and I don't really want to spoil anything for this, guys. If you haven't already seen it, you probably might like watch it on DVD or something on Netflix when it gets released. But anyway, we sort of continue from the Desolation of Smaug. It's actually a really cool intro. We mainly go into the families of a guy called Bog or something, this nobleman in a lake town, and the dragon from the Smaug comes down and destroys this whole little city, and he sort of fires the place down, causes destruction here, and that is an amazing intro, one of the best. It's like goes on for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then we get to the intro. So we see Bilbo and all the others on the up in the cliffs of Desolation. So as this movie progresses, it delves into 2 like sort of different plot lines. We get introduced back to Legolas, who takes quite a central role defining, and we see the different armies, the 5 different armies. I think there must have been, because it was called Battle of 5 Armies. We didn't really see one of them. We saw one big great orc army they were sort of all facing off against in the Desolation Kingdom area, and we saw that big orc army, very impressive one. Then we saw the introduction of the human army, which were the people introduced at the start. The dragon thing from Lake Town, they all came about, and they had a big army, and they had to defend the castle area. We saw, obviously, the dwarf army, which is made up of a lot of dwarves, people who came along, including the guy that helped out, the little ginger guy. I think he was one of the dwarves, so they had a big army. That was 3. Then the 4th was the elves, the big elves army, who helped out with humans, and the elves were really impressive. Legolas did actually have a very impressive role in this one, played by Orlando Bloom. And I got another orc army as well. I think the orc CGI was pretty good in this movie. It didn't blow me away or anything. I mean, they had a few good shots of like an overview of the army, but not really that much warfare. I think it was more 1-on-1 action or 2-on-2 or something like that. It didn't really delve into too much warfare. There was some big creatures, which actually did show off pretty well, especially from the orc army, who went into rampage and just struck the environment. And it's very good to see that, and satisfying to see just things break up on the screen, and it looks great in the IMAX, so it's always a good test to see it working on the IMAX. I think Bilbo Baggins didn't really take much part in the action, but again, he had a darker tone in this movie. As the final movie, it did possess quite a darker tone. I mean, this happens with a lot of trilogies or finals of movies, finales. It goes down a lot shorter. And Bilbo Baggins, played by Martin Freeman, had a very sort of darker deeper down in his personality role. He didn't say as much in this movie. He was more in the facial expressions, which did show a lot, and so I think he had a great performance in this movie. Maybe not as much as it could have hoped for, like maybe some more of him on the screen, but again, the ring did not come into it too much, which is a little downside to this. We did get to see Sauron in CGI, and well, Bilbo reacted pretty well to everything that went on. Didn't really use his sword or anything in the warfare, as I said. He was sort of separated from that. He did have a good scene with Gandalf, and Gandalf worked really well with Bilbo in this one. Again, Gandalf actually didn't do anything in this movie, I don't think, if I can remember. No, not really. He took down some people. He talked to the humans and all that, and the humans just played off as real asses in this movie. And no offense, the elf leader, what's his name? The really annoying guy with one of the elf leaders from Rivendell. He was just a dick. Well, he was just, I hated him, and I guess we pulled off the character pretty well for everyone to hate him. Who else do we see? Galadriel. We saw the relationship between our ginger girl and one of the dwarves, Kfili or something, and how, I won't spoil what happens, but it gets quite emotional, and I mean, I didn't react to that too. I didn't think it was that emotional, but they definitely put a lot of emphasis on that relationship in this movie. So if you like that, you're gonna like it here. I didn't particularly think it was that interesting, but there was a few good death scenes at the end. Not related to that, but I'm not gonna really spoil anything. Hopefully, I'll probably put a little bit of spoiling warning in this video because I kind of spoiled there, but I'm not gonna really go into that. Yeah, so pretty good in acting on all sides. I think some of the characters were just a little one-dimensional, such as some of the humans. You kind of hated them as well, so you weren't really too supportive of that army. And it got a little boring during the second act. The third act did pick up, but it didn't have some of the bits were just not that spectacular. Anyway, it was a non-stop roller coaster throughout, but it sort of carried on just being a single siege war movie more than it was really a journey or anything. It was a quick sequence at the end. Bilbo returns home, and the ending. Oh, I actually really enjoyed this ending. I thought it was a great fit and finish to the series. Bilbo was safely home. Kind of funny at the end, a bit of humor in there, as always the Hobbit movies or the Lord of the Rings movies do possess. I mean, again, it didn't really work too well in this movie, since the fact that we were just getting dark sort of throughout the whole movie. But again, a little bit of humor at the end. That was probably the only mention of really that much humor in this whole movie. Bilbo being a little bit of comic relief as well, not taking him too seriously, but he does have some good dark acting skills. So he gets home, says goodbye to Gandalf, and then we see the older Bilbo a few years later on, well actually a load of years later on, and Gandalf comes back, and that sorts of build a full circle of Lord of the Rings, because just as the movie ends, the Lord of the Rings begins. I'm pretty sure, and that's a full circle. So it's amazing, really, that they just rounded up Peter Jackson, obviously directing on all these movies. So you can pretty much watch all 6 movies in a row. I think I might do that. That'd be great to see, and it fits the whole thing for you. You think if I could rate all 3 of these movies in a row, like Desolation Smog, The Unexpected Journey, and the Battle of Five Armies, for me, it would go Unexpected Journey is my favourite, and between Desolation Smog and the Battle of Five Armies, I'm going to say Battle of Five Armies and then Desolation Smog, my third favourite. So Battle of Five Armies, it's up there, but again, it didn't step up to being as good as The Unexpected Journey. Well, you can't really beat that. It had Gollum in it. So I'm definitely going to rewatch these movies, and then maybe I might change my opinion, might say that later, but probably won't say, change my. And I also watch the Lord of the Rings ones again. I have all 3 movies as I'm looking over here. They're all set up there. I also have Desolation Smog, and I'm going to get the other 2. So when they come out, or on Blu-ray or something like that, and then watch them in epic Blu-ray. Yeah, so I watched it in IMAX. I think it was good movie. Well, it was the movie that you wouldn't say was fantastic or amazing or groundbreaking or anything, but for a finale, it fit really well. and I'm gonna give it just in my enjoyment factor. I think it was enjoyable, but maybe I wouldn't watch it too much, just for the fact that it kind of rolled on a bit, and you might skip through bits of it to get to the good bits, of course. And yeah, they did sort of focus on some dwarves more than others in this movie. I actually noticed that quite a lot, and some of the characters were just focused on way more than the others, and it was uneven in bits like that. So this one gets a I don't know what to say about this one. Okay, I'm going to be fair with it. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies. There you go, that's my Hobbit review on this one. So I might talk about Hobbit or Little Rings in future videos, but again, that's sort of all we've got. There may be another J.R.R. Tolkien movie coming out on one of the others, like one of the other books he wrote, but again, that will be for future videos if there's any sort of looks at that. And now I'm going to go into WWE News and WWE Network. Exciting news about it, maybe? Yeah, it is confirmed to come to Ireland and UK. Let's take a look at the news that came out. I'm going over to a random site. Visitman reveals some exciting news for Irish wrestlers fans yesterday over on the WWE's YouTube channel. There's actually a YouTube video I didn't watch, but it has been a long time coming, a very long time. But the WWE Network is finally coming to Ireland and the UK, starting on Monday, January 19th. Set your calendars for that if you live in the UK or Ireland. WWE Network will be directly available on web, iOS and Android devices, gaming consoles, smart TVs and digital media players. And as Vince said, it's just coming in time to watch Royal Rumble 2015. So what about the price? WWE Network will be available £9.99 pounds in the UK and €12.99 in Ireland with no commitment. So that's a bit more expensive than the US. €13 where I am. I mean, if I'm going to dish out that every month, probably wouldn't be worth it since Netflix is a bit cheaper than that. So I probably would get it for 1 month and that was it. I think I actually may get this with no commitment. Simply visit the website on January 19th to sign up. That is already the news you get there.